Hello, everybody. Welcome to our October Training Tuesday event for OU Campus. Today's topic is LDP forms and advanced attributes. We'll be discussing the different ways you can customize your forms beyond the standard OU Campus options. To follow along, you should have a working knowledge of HTML and CSS. During the presentation, all participants will be in a listen-only mode as this session is being recorded. If you have a question during the presentation, please use the Q&A function found at the bottom of your screen. This allows us to follow up with you if you need any further information. We will attempt to address your questions during the presentation. After the formal presentation is ended, we will review and answer all remaining questions. Your presenter today is Barbara McQuillan, software trainer. Barbara, I will hand it over to you.
Thank you, Erica. So our plan today is to take a look at the LDP Form advanced attributes. So I'm jumping right into the advanced attributes in this session, so I'm not going to be constructing the form itself. If you do need additional information on how to construct the form, please do check our support site. So our plan for today, we're going to talk a little bit about the advanced attributes, and I'm going to go over where you can find a listing of all the attributes that are already baked into the system. Then we're going to jump into different attributes and see what they apply to. So there's specific attributes that'll apply to text box type elements, the multiple choice type elements, some that apply to any element type, and some that apply to the entire form. So we'll kind of divide those out as we go through so you can see each one applied. Talking about those LDP attributes, all of your advanced attributes are going to be detailed and listed in this file, so _resources inside XSL, inside _shared, and inside a forms.xsl file. If you're inside a sandbox, that file name may be a little bit different. It may say OU-forms, but same generalized idea. Just so you are aware, depending upon how your website design is handling different pieces, your CSS may influence how these advanced attributes apply. So I have seen some situations where there's already CSS baked into your design that makes specific allowances for different types of fields. So depending upon how your CSS is set up, you may or may not see changes based upon these. You may need to do a little bit of adjusting, create some additional CSS rules, just to be able to have the ability to make these changes. So let's jump into the sandbox, and we'll kind of walk through where you can find all of those different advanced attributes. So as you can see here, I have gone ahead and I created a form itself, just dropped it on the page. I have a handful of different elements here. So I have a single line text field up here for the name. My street address and delivery instructions, those two are set up as multi-line text fields. I do have a drop down, radio buttons, checkboxes, and down at the bottom, this piece of text right here, that's actually our instructional text. So you're going to notice on this form right now, I do not have a multi-select and I do not have a date and time picker. The appropriate attributes for those types of elements will still work. I just didn't need to have them on here because I had enough to be able to display all the things that I wanted to. But you can still use some of these advanced attributes on those two elements as well. So inside OU Campus, let's take a look at that forms.xsl. So inside _resources, inside XSL, inside _shared, as I mentioned before, I'm in a sandbox environment, so my file is OU-forms. Yours will probably just say forms.xsl. Opening that up, I'll make it a little bit bigger, and I can actually change it to a dark background. I feel like that's just easier to see. As I scroll down a little bit, you're going to notice this giganto chunk of commented out information. This is a listing of all the predefined attributes. So these are all the different things that are available to you. I am going to be demonstrating all of these today except for this one at the top, legend. Legend is used to create a placeholder text. So it essentially allows you to just insert text into the form itself. It was really a solution before we had the instructional text element itself. So because we now have instructional text, that one's not really needed. So I'm not going to show that one today. All right. So let's take a look and go back to my live page with my forms. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in here as well, make it a little bit easier for you to see. So up at the top, I do have some information or some elements here that are asking for information from a particular person. So taking a look at these fields here, I think my name field here, it is a single line text field, but I feel like it's super wide. I probably am not going to have that much input in this field. It probably doesn't need to be this wide. So I want to make it a little bit skinnier. My street address here, right now it is 2 rows tall before I get that scroll bar on the side. This may not be enough for what I want here. So if someone has, say, a street address and then an apartment number and a city, now I'm onto that 3rd row. I may want this to be a little bit taller. Finally, my delivery instructions here, that again is a really wide field. I think I want to make that a little bit skinnier just because this is just for a little bit of additional information. It doesn't need to be that wide. So I can make those adjustments using my advanced attributes. Back to our PowerPoint here. There are 3 attributes that I'm going to be using to make those adjustments here. The size attribute is going to allow me to change the width of a single line text field. The number here is going to be the number of typical characters that I will see included inside that field. Now, keep an eye on that because it really depends upon what your CSS and website design are. So if your particular font family is a little bit wider, it may not be the exact number of characters, but that gives you kind of a generalized idea of how big. Rows is going to be the height of my multi-line text field, so I can make that multi-line taller or shorter. And then columns is going to be the width of the multi-line text field. Again, that number is going to be in the number of characters. So back over, we'll switch over into OU Campus. I'm going to navigate to Content Assets to open up my Asset Manager. And I'm going to go ahead and open up this form. In order to edit it, I do need this form checked out to myself. And once I have it checked out, I can see the edit button. All right, so here's that name field at the top. Remember, this name field is kind of wide for my purposes here. I want to make it a little bit skinnier. So inside this name field element, down at the bottom, I'm going to call the advanced attribute size. And I'm going to set it equal to however many characters I want. I'm going to spell it correctly to make it just a little bit easier. So maybe I want to say that I want this to be, say, 25 characters long. Semicolon at the end for any of our advanced attributes. Continuing down, I have my street address. So back to my live form. Right now, it was 2 rows tall. I think a 3rd row could potentially happen. Maybe I want to give myself a little bit of buffer too. So maybe I want to allow this to be 4 rows tall. Back into OU Campus. The advanced attribute I'm going to call here is rows. And I'm going to set that equal to 4, semicolon at the end. Finally, my special instructions here that delivery information. I don't need it to be as wide as it is now. So I'm going to make this a little bit skinnier. I'll skip over the drop down for a second to come to the multi-line text view. There's my delivery instructions. And in this one, I'm going to call the columns, C-O-L-S, equal to, maybe I'll say this one is 25 characters wide as well, semicolon at the end. For any of these adjustments or changes that I'm making, I am going to need to save in the bottom right-hand corner. And I will need to publish out the asset itself. So for this, we updated the name, the address, and the instruction elements. Publish. Notice at the bottom when I publish that asset, it will publish the subscribing page. So back to the live page, I'm just going to do a quick refresh and clear the cache in the process. Perfect. So now here's my name field. Notice it is skinnier. It's going to be approximately 25 characters. Let's see how far we get. So there's 10, 10, 5, 6, 7. So I'm really close. I ended up being about 27 characters, but that's just because of the font family that we have chosen here. My street address, we want to make this taller. It is now 1, 2, 3, 4 rows tall before I start getting the scroll bar on the side. So that's perfect. And again, down here with my delivery instructions, again, I just made it a little bit skinnier. Again, approximately 25 characters wide. Perfect. So I think that's all looking good. Let's take a look and see what else we may want set up here. All right, so in between these, I do have this drop down for state. And I started typing them, but man, we have a lot of states. That could take me a while to type through all of them. So for any of these multiple choice elements, I do have an advanced attribute that I can call. I call that one Dataset. Dataset allows me to use a predefined dataset to populate values, and that could be used in checkboxes, radio buttons, drop-downs, or the multi-select list. All the datasets that are predefined can be found at this location, _resources/xsl/_shared/datasets.xsl, and you can also create new datasets. So essentially all I need to do is copy a full statement, rename it, and then add some information into it for what those options will be. A couple caveats when we're talking about adding options. You want to add them in the order that you want them to appear. The system's not doing any logic in the background, so it's not going to alphabetize or organize in any way. So whatever order you want it to appear, that's how you need to have it set up. And then finally, you can have default options by adding an underscore, capital D underscore at the end of it. So let's jump back inside OU Campus, and I'll show you where those data sets currently live. So hovering over content, I'm going to open up pages in a new tab so I don't lose my form. Inside underscore resources, inside XSL, inside underscore shared, I have a file called datasets.xsl. So essentially what we have here is we have a choose and a when XSL statement. For each one of these opening XSL whens, the very last word that's going to be in single quotes, that's the word that I'll use in order to call it. So for our particular question, I want a list of all the states. That is a predefined data set here. And you're going to notice the word that's in the single quotes here is state. So that's the word I'll use to call it. Back to my form, I'll check it out in order to edit it. And I'm going to go to my drop-down list here. And I'm going to call the advanced attribute dataset, and I'm going to set it equal to state, semicolon at the end. By adding in a dataset as an advanced attribute here, it will overwrite any items that I have listed here. So these will no longer appear, only this one will. If I'm using that dataset fresh, I actually don't need anything kind of filler in these items. It can just use that dataset. Bottom right-hand corner, save. Let's go ahead and publish it out. We added a data set. Perfect. Back to my live form, I'm going to do a quick refresh and clear the cache at the same time. So now my states are all going to be listed here. Interesting. Let's check that out again. Take a look at edit. Oh, I lost my advanced fields on these guys. Let's add those back in because I kind of liked those. This was size equal to 25. This one was rows equal to 4. There's my data sets. Down here, columns equal to 25. Save it all, publish it all out. Publish. Good. There they are. Perfect. And then my whole data set is here as well. All right, excellent. Back to this datasets XSL, let's talk about creating your own datasets, because there may be chunks of options that you want to use over and over. I often see this used when particular schools use a listing of programs and use a listing of buildings or things that are common on campus. So in order to create a new data set, I'm going to take a complete XSL when statement. I'm going to copy it I'm going to keep it inside the XSL choose. So I'm just pasting it again here. Maybe for this data set, I want a list of weekdays. So in the single quotes, I'm going to put the word I'm going to use to call this, weekday. And in between those angled brackets, that's where I'm going to list all of my different options. So comma separated, no spaces, and in the order that I want it to appear. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Perfect. Save. And now I have a new data set that I could call if I needed. If you are making adjustments to data sets, so let's say I wanted to make changes to the state. Maybe I wanted to set a default. So I'm in lovely California, so maybe I want this to be my default option. Underscore, capital D, underscore. I would need to save this. Now, because this is an XSL file, this particular file does not need to be published. However, the form itself will only grab the XSL when it is published. So I'd need to republish the form in order to catch that change. All right, so I had a question here that asks, what is the difference between col and size for width? The difference between those two attributes is which type of element you want to apply it to. So you're going to notice the size I'm applying to a single line text field. And the col I'm applying to the multi-line text field. So that's the only difference in it. It just comes down to which element I want to have the effect on, but the net effect on my published form is going to be the same. All right. So we took a look at data sets. Let's go back to our live form again. All right. So taking a look at my form right now, these top questions, my name, street, state, maybe even delivery instructions, they're really kind of questions that are grouped together. I'm asking for information about the person. So it's possible using advanced attributes to start grouping things together. This is actually an advanced attribute that can be applied to any element type. So I can create groups of any types of elements here. And I'm essentially using 3 different advanced attributes in combination. The group itself is going to be called a field set. Whichever element I want to be the first within this group, I'm going to give it this field set underscore start is equal to true. Whichever one I want to be the last in the group, I'll give it field set underscore end is equal to true. And then to put a label on it, to have kind of a name for the group, in the same advanced attribute box that I have that field set start, I'm going to add in field set label. And I'm literally just going to type the text that I want it to be. So let's go ahead back into my form and let's group these 4 together. So up at the top, my first element here that I want to be a part of it is this name field. So I can type directly next to this semicolon, or I can hit enter and continue listing my attributes. I like to hit enter just because it looks a little bit easier to my eye. It feels a little bit cleaner to me, but you could just have them strung across. That's completely up to you. All right, so for this one, I'm going to say field start. Nope, lies. Field set underscore start is equal to true, semicolon at the end. Continuing all the way down to the last one that I want as a part of this group, there's my delivery instructions. This one is going to be field set underscore end equal to true. And then to put a label on it, back up to the one that was the very first, back up to my start. I'm going to say field set underscore label is equal to, and I'm literally just going to write what text I want it to be there. So all of these questions are really asking about a particular person. So maybe I want something like, tell us about yourself, semicolon at the end. Perfect. Bottom right-hand corner, save. And I'm going to publish it out. In this one, we created a field set. Publish. Publish is thinking hard here. How about a quick refresh here, just to see where we're sitting? Looks like my publish went through. I'm going to check out the page and just look for my versions. Yep, there's created my field set. So that's the one that was most up to date. Perfect. Let's go back to my live page, quick refresh. And here's my field set. So it's taking these 4 questions, kind of segmenting them off into this little group. Up here at the top, there's the label that I created. And remember inside the data set, we had said California was going to be our default. By republishing it, grab that XSL again. So this is what it looks like when I have a default option set up inside my data set. It will be the pre-selected choice, but I can always click in and change it. Perfect. All right, let's take a look at other things we can do. So I have this radio button and this checkbox right next to each other. Now, maybe I don't want them directly next to each other. Perhaps I'd like them side by side instead. I can do that using these advanced attributes. The attribute that I'm going to call is going to essentially create a row on the page. So the row on the page is going to take those elements, create it as a row, and then I have to specify how many columns I want inside of it. So this combination of these 3 advanced attributes is going to create multiple columns of form elements. For whichever question I want to be the first in that multiple next to each other setup, I'm going to have that as row underscore start equals true. Whichever one I want to be last, that'll be row underscore end is equal to true. And then inside each one of the elements that I want next to each other, I need a row underscore call underscore count to tell me how many it's expecting to be side by side. So I have a question here that says, when using field sets, if we include radio buttons or checkboxes, we ended up with nested field sets. Interesting. Which causes some accessibility checkers to flag it. If a radio button is part of a group, how can we get around that? So that is really going to be dependent upon your design and what's creating that nesting inside of it. So that may be a question that we'll have to follow up with you to take a look at your design and figure out exactly what's happening there. All right, an important point when we're talking about this column numbers, they need to be predefined inside your forms.xsl. So what am I talking about there? So inside OU Campus, let's go back to that forms.xsl. So still inside underscore resources, inside XSL underscore shared, your forms.xsl. And I'm going to look for row underscore call underscore count. This is that comment that explains what it does. Again, showing me the example. Down here, I'm going to have my advanced attribute where it's establishing it as a value. And then here's where we're going to take a look. Notice this comment up here on line 157, how many columns to add to the new row. So pre-baked already into the system, I can have a row column count of 4. I can have it as 3. And then notice I have this XSL otherwise. So the way that my XSL is working here, it's essentially trying to decide which of these to choose. If I set it equal to 4, it'll put 4 columns in. Set it equal to 3, it'll put 3 columns in. Otherwise, so if I literally put anything else in it, it's going to set it up as a 2 column. So if you wanted different options here, it would need to be pre-created here inside the XSL. And then any additional styling based upon your design would need to be adjusted to allow for additional columns. But by default, you do have the option of 4, 3, and 2. All right, so back inside our form, let's scroll down to that radio button. So here's my radio button, and here's my checkboxes. So I want to put those side by side. That's going to mean that this radio button is going to be my row start. So row underscore start, I'm going to set that equal to true, semicolon. Checkboxes, that's going to be the last one I'll have on this row. So that's going to be row underscore end equal to true. And now I need to tell both of these that they're going to be part of a two-column setup. So row underscore col underscore count equal to 2, again, semicolon at the end. Row underscore col underscore count equal to 2, semicolon at the end. Perfect. I'm going to save and publish it out here. So we have a question here asking if there's going to be a place where this presentation is in print for you to reference later. So we do always take our recordings and we'll place them on our YouTube and Vimeo channel. We will include closed captioning for those, but we don't normally have, say, transcript of it. But you will have access to the video along with closed captions on it. Back to the form, quick refresh. Perfect. So now I have my questions set up side by side. All right. Moving down, the last element that I have in here is my instructional text. So it's that little chunk of text down here at the bottom. So for my design, my CSS doesn't have a lot of a call out. I mean, it's a little bit bigger text-wise from some of my questions, but I don't know, I don't feel like it's really pulling enough information, enough attention to it. So I'm going to use an additional advanced attribute. For any element type, I can add a class to it. So using this add class attribute, we'll essentially just add the class into the node for that particular question. But keep in mind that that class does need to be predefined in your CSS before you'll have any impact on the view on the page itself. So back to OU Campus, let's make this look just a little bit more important. Back to my form, I'm going to check it out and click Edit. And I go ahead and find that instructional text element, which was down at the bottom of my element questions. And I'm going to add an advanced attribute here. So I'm going to say add class equal to, and I'm just going to name whatever that class is inside my CSS. I created a class called super important, semicolon at the end. Save and publish. So for this, we added class to instructional text. Publish. Perfect. Back to my live page, quick refresh. Yeah, we're not missing that anymore. That will absolutely be seen. So let me inspect this really quick. I am in Chrome, so I have my developer tools. So down here on the div that actually has the element information here, that's where that super important class is being added. All right. So I have that ability to add the class, and keep in mind, you can add classes to any one of your elements. So if you wanted to go really, really wacky and have different class stylizing for every other question, you could. That is absolutely an option. All right. So we've done some nice stylizing on our elements themselves, but now that I get down to this bottom, I have my two buttons here, and they're looking a little boring. So I do have the ability to add some classes to the buttons themselves. I'm often seeing now that websites are coming in with button classes that you can apply to links that are on your different pages. So if you have a button class that you'd like to use here, you can. Keep in mind, I have two different buttons here. I have a submit button, and I have, it's called a clear, but it's essentially a reset. So when we're talking about the attributes for it, I have a submit underscore btn underscore classes, and I have a reset underscore btn underscore classes. So using either of these will remove any class that is already on the button. So that default stylizing that I have on the button, that will be removed. It will instead be replaced by this class. Please keep in mind, calling either of these classes, the class will need to be predefined inside your CSS in order to see any visible change. All right, back inside my form, checking it out, clicking edit. I'm going to scroll all the way down to the bottom for this one. Because these aren't individual questions, they're actually part of the form itself. So I'm going to go down to this form settings panel down at the bottom. I have one final advanced attribute field here, and this is where I'm going to make adjustments to those button classes. So I had a submit underscore btn underscore class. I'm going to set it equal to, I created a class called button-1. Bottom right-hand corner, save, and publish. We added a submit button class here. Perfect. Back to my live page, quick refresh. Oh, where'd my class go? Once more, down to the bottom, class is. So this one's a little bit different than add class, and I did this specifically just to demonstrate. So my add class is to add that singular class, but I can add multiple classes to my submit button, my reset button. So the advanced attribute does have the ES at the end. Keep an eye on that. It's all for demonstration purposes. We'll try that once more. Publish. Back to my live page with a quick refresh. Yeah, that's an impressive button right there. My clear button looks a little sad next to it. I think we need to add a class to that one too. Back to my form, so I'll check out the page and click edit. Again, all the way down to the bottom. Inside that very last advanced attribute, reset underscore btn underscore classes equal to, and for this one I created a second class called button-2. We'll add that one here. Save and publish. Perfect. Back to my live page, quick refresh. Yeah, now it looks good. Now it's nice. Perfect. So throughout this entire conversation, we've been talking about adding attributes to individual questions. Excuse me. So the adjustments that I'm making are on individual questions. I can also make adjustments on the entire form. So I have the ability to add the class to the form node itself, so that way I can apply a class. For that, I'm going to use a attribute. Let's check out the page and go to edit. Again, all the way down to the bottom, I need my very last advanced field here. And I'm going to call this one form underscore classes and set it equal to whatever is appropriate. Again, please keep in mind that any classes that you're going to be calling here must be predefined in your CSS. I created a lovely one that I'm calling Halloween because 'tis this season. Bottom right-hand corner, save, and we'll publish it out. Publish. Perfect. Back to my live page, a quick refresh. Yeah, we'll zoom out a little bit so you can appreciate that in its entirety. So this class that I'm adding is applied to the entire form on it. So we'll do a quick inspect here. So you can just see here's my form and there's my Halloween class being added to it. So you can create themed forms based upon holiday, season, department, what have you, and just have that whole class applied to the entire thing. Perfect. All right. So that essentially wraps off all of our advanced attributes and what you have available in your individual systems. Just keep in mind, depending upon how your CSS is set up based upon your design, you may need to add some additional CSS rules to allow for these changes to happen. I've seen some schools that have specific kind of preset widths or preset heights, especially on text boxes, whether they're single line or multi-line text fields. So if you're making these adjustments inside the form and you're not seeing a visible change, inspect the actual element itself. It's quite possible you have CSS that's overwriting. Perfect. All right. If you have any questions about our advanced attributes, feel free to add them into our Q&A section there. While you're perfect. Questions, here we go. Does it matter where we put the form underscore classes? Can we put it on the top or does it go in the last field? Good question. So that form classes itself is to apply to the entire form. So because it is applying to the entire form, this is the location where that form node can be accessed. If I put it into any other individual element, I don't have that form node accessible from that advanced attribute field. So I would not be able to add the class to the right place. So it does need to go at this very bottom one. I have a question here of, is Google Recaptcha an option to include before the submit button? Yes, Recaptcha is an option. It does require some additional XSL as part of your implementation. It does also require you to have Recaptcha information already set up. So if your forms did not include the Recaptcha as part of the original design, our implementations team here, our Pro Services team, may not have had that extra Recaptcha XSL included. So if you're not sure, you can reach out to our support team. They can always take a look at the code that you have, let you know what adjustments or changes might be necessary to be able to add that Recaptcha to it. When you group fields, is the label defined as a heading? It's a good question for accessibility, so let's take a look. There was that label. Let's take a look. We'll inspect it. Tell us about yourself. It is being used as a legend. So the node that is being generated out here is a legend. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? More questions. We're missing the multi-column attribute in the OU forms XSL to place multiple elements in a line. It's an update we missed. That's a good question. So back into that XSL, the one that you're looking for, in order to put them side by side, is my collection of rows. Row start, ooh, that's an awful highlight color, I'm so sorry. So row start, row underscore column underscore count, or row end. Those three in combination will allow you to put multiple elements in a line. If that is not part of your forms.xsl, again, touch base with our support team. They can always take a look for you and provide you with that additional XSL should you need it. Final question over here I have, can the success message be customized using form values? So the success message is when I successfully submit a form. So we'll zoom in a little bit. I don't have a lot of information here. So when a form is successfully submitted, I'll be able to see that success message added to the page. It essentially replaces any of the questions on page. So I have it set up here. There's no advanced attribute that targets this. However, it is a div here with a class of alert-success. So you could, inside your CSS, add in something that would allow you to stylize that based upon that class. So that would be available to you. Another question, is conditional logic available somehow using advanced field? There's not a feature of forms in OU Campus. Unfortunately, right now, conditional logic is not available using our forms inside OU Campus. So conditional logic is when I say yes to this question and then another question would open up or pop up, or I said no, so the next 3 questions I don't have to answer. Unfortunately, that is not something that's set up right now. It is something that we've had customers request before. So it is something that our product team is looking into doing. So it is something that we're looking into, just unfortunately it doesn't do it right now. All right, any other questions? As we're talking about that success message, I'm thinking about the failure message as well. So let's take a look at that really quick. And we'll see about adding in maybe a validation on this one for a minimum length. Let's take a look at what that class is. Publish. So whenever I have required fields or I have validations, if I try to submit the form without those fulfilled, ooh, interesting. Quick refresh. So here's my failure message up at the top. My something went wrong. And then each individual field is going to have its own individual failure message. Taking a look at that overall failure message, that class is alert-error. So again, you could use your CSS to target it. Another question here, what about the ability for people to attach files? So again, another question I've gotten from our customers in the past. Attaching files is something that our product team is also looking into. It gets into a very tricky place just because attaching files suddenly becomes a security opening. So we want to be very careful about if we include that as part of our forms and what kinds of security that we have behind it, just to make sure that anything that is coming into your database, keep in mind the server-side module is on your production server. We want to make sure that's secure. So I've seen a lot of schools who want to be able to attach files right now. So I've seen them say add links in their success message or links in the actual form fields itself to a separate program or separate third-party service that allows you to attach forms, and then they have the security protocols in place to be able to protect you. We just want to make sure that we have all of that taken care of before we introduce a feature like that. So it's something the product team is looking at right now. All right. Other questions, comments, concerns? Okay. Well, for any of you who are just finishing up and typing, let's take a look at our Training Tuesday for next month. Erica, would you like to jump in on this one?
Yes, I would. So next month's Training Tuesday is going to be November 27th. This is the week after Thanksgiving, since it does come early this year. And we're going to be covering the topic of third-party scripts and using them in OU Campus. So keep an eye out on the OCN or the support site for the upcoming registration link.
Perfect. Thanks, Erica.
No problem.
For anybody who asked a specific question that had to do with your particular implementation, I will take a look into it for you, and I'll be able to reach out to you via email. So I'll be able to kind of follow up with you on that. Perfect. I want to wish you guys a very happy Halloween. Be safe, take care, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Yes, thank you everybody for attending, and the recorded presentation materials and PowerPoint slides will be available on our support site very soon. And one last thing, don't forget to fill out the feedback survey. We love hearing from you, and it helps us tailor our future sessions to what you want to see. Thank you everybody for attending, and have a great rest of your day.